Nobody's watching, and that's fine. But I'm making a video, and it's early in the morning. I've just woken up, and I am watching in horror again as more bombings in Syria and a new clash and about the orthodoxy in Israel being drafted to war, and the orthodoxy is obviously make their own rules. They do all of this. The way that the Jewish orthodoxy runs, as a layman, I understand it as well, because I'm not a Jew and I don't subscribe to any religion. But from what I understand about how orthodoxy is, it's a sovereign. All religions are based on sovereignty, essentially. That you govern yourself, and that you govern yourself within your religion, and as long as you don't harm anybody else, that you're allowed to do whatever you want within your own religion. And if the orthodoxy has decided that they are against going to war, then being drafted is essentially tantamount to I don't want to belittle it, but yes, it was very similar to when Hitler came to place gold stars on any Jewish families, just to make sure that they were known to the government that they were Jews. And they will come to your door and they will draft you whether you like it or not. And they know that this is happening again. And they, in Germany, they didn't have any rights, obviously. They have rights now. This is the whole point of Israel, is they have the right to decide whether or not they take an action. It's as simple as that. So if they decide to take the action of going to war, that's on them as a Jew, and that they have to take that on. And lots of Jewish people are in the military. I mean Israel's forces are known to be some of the best in the world, militarily speaking, training wise. So lots of Jews choose to be drafted into battle to fight to protect their land. That's the second point that I wanted to. The orthodoxy chooses not to, and obviously they're fighting to stop being forced. And the draft in America has been a very similar thing the whole time. It's like you can get out on religious grounds, but the second point was, people keep calling the Jewish people land thieves and rats and things like this. Now, okay, you can take that stance if you really want to, and it proves that you're ignorant. I've had arguments with Jewish people, and I don't technically mind having an argument with the Jewish people about the sacrosanctity of the earth and lands, and the ancient tribes of the the Adamites, and then the pre-Syrian peoples of the past ice age 12,000 years ago. Sure, we can argue about how everyone's out of Africa, and how everyone is only really related by Charlemagne and 100,000 people who managed to survive at Göbekli Tepe at the last at the last ice age or whatever. But the historical facts are that the Jewish people eventually settled in what is now known as Jerusalem about 4,500 years ago, which would be 2,700 odd AD, yeah, before Christ was even a thing, before Christianity was a thing. The Hebrews were there in what is now known as Jerusalem, settling in and creating their what is now a solidified religion over thousands of years. That's That's just a historical fact. You cannot fucking state any other ways. When the Roman Empire began to come to power, they saw that the Jewish people were a power to be feared, and they brought them under control. That controlled state was called Palestine. And Palestine literally means to subjugate Jews. It is literally their only raison d'etre. Okay, and that was after Islam. That's so Roman Empire had been around for a good 1600 years, right? A good 800 years. Before, so it's like 600 AD when Muhammad started to really try to convert people to Islam. The Roman Empire was still a power, and they saw a hateful group of people wanted to oppress a group of people that the Romans had already decided they were going to oppress. It doesn't matter. Herod was the false king. That was the whole fucking point of the orthodoxy, was that they couldn't decide on the line of David who the next king was going to be. And Herod, being a man of guile, I suppose you could say, made a deal with Rome to become the officiado, at least the head representative, the king of Jews in that time before Jesus. And when Jesus obviously arrived, and they said, no, this is the son of David, and he's the bloodline of David, and the three the three wise men, the three kings have anointed him with the gifts of a king as well, and that he has been trained as a king, and he's been trained in the scriptures as a king. He is the king, and yet the orthodoxy couldn't decide on it still, and eventually, he's betrayed, they crucify him, and this entire thing is the Jews' penance, supposedly, and their book, that their penance for turning their back on God is this punishment, and that the Holocaust was their final redemption in God's eyes for turning their backs on him in the previous incarnation. And I'm still hearing people saying that Israel is an illegal state, and I'm sorry, it's not. It may have been created post World War II, and up until that point it may not have existed in modern history, as in a couple of hundred years of like what we call modern history. And especially in the British Empire, our history dates back thousands of years, so we can go back thousands of years, because we've been fighting off Christianity and Islam since the beginning of fucking time, right? They invaded us, but it's still England. The Vikings invaded us, but it's still England. The Saxons invaded, the Normans invaded, everybody's invaded, but it's still England. It's still. And if then some English people turn up and kind of go, this is our land, we want it back, that's not stealing land, that's reclaiming what is already yours, because it was already stolen from you. It was stolen by the Romans and the Palestinian government that was set up under Islam specifically to make sure that the Jewish orthodoxy wouldn't gain too much power within the Roman Empire. And if they did, there was always a group of Muslims to stop them. And that is exactly how power structures run. So yes, maybe the Jewish people have an ultimate goal and they want to destroy the world, and only Jews will be left alive, right? And that would be a sad world to live in as well, to be honest, because it would mean that the diversity of ideas had disappeared and the diversity of freedom had disappeared. And so that's a toxic idea. If anybody genuinely believes that there should be a one religion, that's, a false preposition, I suppose to say. And even so, there's no way that we can continue to ignore history. We just can't. And it doesn't matter if you say, oh well, history is written by the victors. Yes, it is written by the victors, and that's why it's so important to make sure that you've got the facts down. Because you see, the thing is, if you're being painted out in a history book as being Hitler, or if you're being painted out in the history book as being the devil, and you're being painted out as being like the fucking you're Voldemort, right? But you're actually Harry Potter. You want people to know, look, they tried to turn this table around on me big time. Yeah, they're trying to say that I don't live in my own house, that this isn't my house, that I don't live in my own house. Then they move in, kick you out of your own house, make you homeless, and then through that whole period of the lost tribe, basically they became the lost tribe of Egypt. And when they finally settled down in that area of the world, it was supposed to be a place where they could finally set down roots. They have done before, they have done many times, and that is the fucking point. That is the point, because if we are just taking the past 50 years as de facto the truth, and that's the problem, that is exactly what people are doing. They're not going back to the root cause of it. They're going back to yesterday. They're going back to last week. Well, you remember last week when you bombed this place? That's wrong, and that's why you're an illegal state, and this, that, and the other. It's like, no, go back further to when their lands were taken from them again. Go back further. Actually learn your history. Oh, that's false. But what you'll find is there are going to be several different accounts of different events, and then it's up to you as a critically thinking person, or at least if you consider yourself to be a skeptic, or if you consider yourself to be a centrist, or if you consider yourself to be at least any kind of critical thinker, to look at it and go, perhaps there's something screwy here. But this is the level of intelligence people stoop to, is, oh, it was the Jews, or it was the Muslims. Well, they have a lot of beef. They've been at war with each other as a religion for, all of Islam's history has been at war with Judaism. And the world can be considered to be at war with Judaism because of how they've acted in the world. The Pharaoh's story of Moses and the Exodus, yeah? All of that's fucking a truth of their history. And it doesn't matter if Moses maybe because essentially Moses went up. This is what I'm talking about, critical thinking. Back then, he genuinely went up a mountain, carved some stones, came down and said, God made these, right? And everyone went, really? Yeah, and he's struck by lightning as well. And everyone, really? Wow, that's amazing, right? And believed that. And a critical thinker would go, no, he just went up there and chiseled them himself. Because that's exactly what he did. Why did he do that? Because down on the plateaus, they were worshipping heathen images again. And the whole point of moving away from Egypt, where they worshipped heathen images, is we're moving away from that now. We're supposed to be trying to find a new religion, right? Let's create a new religion, right? So Akhenaten, the pharaoh, took off his pharaoh's garbs and took on the name of Moses to extradite his people out of a religion they didn't want to be in, that was oppressive, that was heathenistic, at least towards the Jewish people, yeah? And to take them to somewhere that was promised to them and them alone. And that would be Jerusalem. And that would be a place where the Jewish people could thrive and survive and live and be and create their own religion. And they did exactly just that, just like every other religion in the world. Okay, So, yes, we can say that 12,000 years ago, the Anunnaki had come down and were gods on Earth, and so fucking what? They're dead now. Oh, they're not dead, they're coming back, they're still alive. No, they're dead, man. They're fucking dead. They all died 12,000 years ago. They're not coming back. Okay? Mummy and Daddy are not coming back. They're dead. Yeah, they died, man. And they left us in a cradle of filth to fucking survive on our own. And that is what we've been doing for the past 12,000 years, is surviving. To get to a point in history where we can say we're not surviving anymore, we're thriving, only to just go at our own throats and just to try to fucking kill our own selves. And this Palestinian conflict, it needs to end. Israel deserves its sovereignty as a nation, and Palestinian people need to fuck off. It's a small strip of land, and this is important, that the Golden Mount, that the whole point of what they're fighting over, belongs to them. It belongs to them. Like, as they built the temple on the mount specifically for their own religion, to worship their own religion in their own ways. It's barbaric. They cut the foreskin off of people. Yes! Yeah, they do that. Why? Oh, there's lots of reasons why, but if you're starting a religion, tradition is one of the things, of the tenements of all religions. You have to begin a tradition somewhere. Circumcision was already a thing. The tradition was to how it was doing it, and a bris is a very quick and clean way to do a circumcision, and creating a traditional ritual around initiating a baby into a religion that you want it to be a part of is an important part of that religion. So that's why if you're a Jew, and you are angry about that, you should be, essentially, because this is current year, right? But back then, when you're starting the seeds of your religion, you are going to create ritual and tradition over things. And building a temple is one of those things, because a temple is essentially a house of God. What is a house of God, you're asking? A house of God is like a normal house, but for everyone under that religion. Okay? That's it. That is the truth of it. You have genuinely, right, a large group of people, right? At most, a human being can only network 200 to 300 people on their own brain that they can actually calculate and actually make use of. It's a functional thing, that it's not just waste. Social waste, basically, because if you've got 500 people but you can only communicate with 200, those 300 people aren't going to be feeling very in the loop, are they? So you keep your circles small, because you can look after those people within that circle, right? And then you have one circle of 200 people, one circle of 200 people, and you have 13 circles, all with 200 people in, all under one temple. That is what a house of God is supposed to be. That template, it should be transcribable to every religion in the world. Take a group of people, okay, create a tradition. Let's say the tradition is blackjack and hookers. Our tradition is blackjack and hookers. We've got 200 blackjack, 200 hookers each, and we're all going to go to our temple, and we're all going to go and pray in our temple. That is essentially, and the tradition is, we build up the rituals and traditions around those things, and it becomes a house of God, right? Because essentially the word, the God aspect, the word, okay, that's the thing, the God, the word, the actual meaning of it, it just means, unity and love and oneness. That's all. That's what it means. That is can we have a universal vibration, please? Yes, the word is God. There you go. There's your universal vibration. Boom. Now, within that universal vibration, you can create your own specific structural implementation to create your own religion. So, another religion claiming it as their own is basically libel. And I would say even further than that, not just libel, but like plagiarism. And I've made this point many times as well, is that yes, okay, the Arabic language is one of the most beautiful languages in the world. I think Tibetan is probably, in my opinion, the most beautiful language in the world. It's so ornate and so beautiful, but there are so many different, I mean, magical languages like Klingon or Enochian, yeah, those kinds of languages are very beautiful in their own way as well, right? So it doesn't matter if you create up your own imaginary language so you can speak in tongues to your favorite people, okay, right? Because the universal vibration is that everybody is under this house of God, okay? And that's it, right? So you can't then just say, rock up and then build a temple within the Golden Mount and say that this is our religion now, which is exactly what they did, right? And just for that sheer ignorance alone, now I feel like I'm repeating myself, because I am repeating myself. And I've been unashamedly about like making second videos, third videos and things like this, yeah. And then I've been watching my continuous hobbies, yeah, like my Warhammer hobbies, or like my self-recovery of narcissistic abuse, which is kind of like, self-abuse, and as well as other people's abuse, and also like all of the things that I've been talking about, how, like my own self-abuse ends up being abuse of somebody else, whether I intentionally want it or not. And obviously like my self-harm, and then how that affects me, how it affects other people, how it affects my relationships, which are gone now basically. But also it kind of helps you learn that the person on the opposite side who's been abusing you, they're also a victim of narcissistic abuse, because they hate themselves so much that they need to blame somebody else for their problems. They're so fucked, right, that they cannot reflect on themselves, that they need a wicker man to burn to get the hatred out, to feel that purge, because they have lost the ability to purge those feelings themselves, whether it's because of biology or hormones or disability or whatever. There's a moment in everybody's lives where sitting down and meditating through the crisis isn't gonna work, and you become action. You act, and it doesn't matter what the act is. You go, no, you see it all the time in road rage down to fucking whatever, right? People gonna push your buttons until you snap. Yeah, that is narcissistic abuse. And how you cope with that, how you cope with being railroaded into goaded into being the shouty, screamy, angry person, or the crying person in the corner, or whatever. At that moment when the narcissistic abuse is coming at you, you're wondering, why me? And then you pass it on because you're a cunt. You can't help it. Everybody does. I've not met a single person, and this is exactly what about religion is so important for a lot of people, is because within this religion we can say that nobody's going to be a cunt to you. Nobody's going to be a cunt to you. That's a nice feeling for a change, isn't it? You walk through the door of the synagogue, okay, or the mosque, or the temples at the Sikhs, and all of these different places of worship, right? But you've chosen your religion specifically because everybody out there is a cunt, and you know it, and you need a fucking sanctuary, and you come walking through the doors of the synagogue or whatever, and you, fuck me, right? And then the guys or the girls standing opposite you are like, fuck me, right? You're like, thank you for this fucking blessed place, because I don't have anywhere else to go in the world. Like, everyone out there hates me. And whether it's the core of like Moses going, yeah, everyone hates you because you're a Jew, the 40 years wandering in the desert was so important, because it's like, hey guys, seriously, I know it seems like we're wandering around aimlessly for 40 years, but listen. If we literally just keep ourselves to ourselves for 40 years, no one can blame us for fucking starting anything. We will be sacrosanct. That means if we just sit down in peace and harmony, right, and pray in our own way to God, the universe, in our own way, that we are going to be the ones in the right here. We're going to be following the truth, okay? We're going to be following the tenets of our religion. We're going to be looking after our own as a family. We're going to be using the resources around us to survive, whilst also honouring the earth, spirit and the universe around us, and sending prayers. And then we're going to go into our temples and we're going to worship in our own way, okay? We're going to close the bedroom door and we're going to worship in our own way, right? We're going to have our own way to be a family, to be a religion, and we're going to do it. And we're going to sit around, we're going to sit out here for 40 years, and we're not going to do fucking anything. And I guarantee you, there's a narcissist that has lost the battle somewhere that wants to pick a fight, and they're going to come rocking up, and they're going to come rocking up for a fight. You watch, you mark my words. Mark my words on stone tablets, this is exactly what's going to happen. And it did. Because essentially, yes, people make the claim, oh yeah, well, they were a warring tribe as well. Yes, of course they were, because every single human being is a human being. They are what they are, okay? Having a religion doesn't suddenly mean that you're, a different species, okay? It just means that you've chosen a different path in life. You've chosen a specific group of people to weather the storm of life. Yeah? You've gone, this religion is mine. Yeah? And everybody in here is welcome and safe from the storm. Yeah? And you can take sanctuary here. And alright, maybe you're a fucking basement dwelling cuck and nobody loves, and your mother doesn't love you, and your father doesn't love you, but God loves you, and there's a seat for you at this table, and there's food for you at this table, there's wine for you at this table, and there's a roof over your head at this table. Okay? That is what that religion is, and what other religions are for other people. Yeah? For the Buddhists it's different, for the Muslims it's different, but for the Muslims it's mainly like based in the fact that they still believe that they carry the perfect word of God, and that because they carry the perfect word of God, that they can't be denied anything in world. I'd say I'd equate that to being a silver-tongued devil, essentially. Being able to con your way into things, or talk your way out of things, can be a very useful skill. But there's a host of hatred about how Islam was created, about how Muhammad wasn't really accepted into the religion, how he decided to become enlightened essentially and go and start his own religion, and how after so many years of his own religion being a religion like this, that it's backfired on him, that he's really like that the Islamic religion has started to basically eat its own tail, in a sense, because of how they are stuck in the idea that they're still blaming the Jews for all of their own problems. They're not capable of looking in the mirror and kind of going, fuck, I fucked up big time here, God forgive me, I swear, God forgive me, I fucked up, man. Right? They go, it's the Jews' fault. I'm gonna kick the shit out of the Jews because I need that sense of power for a second. Because that sense of power is, yep, I'm better than someone now for a second. And the world watches on as a bully basically beats up the little guy, and it's like Superman versus Batman. It's like you got a massive superpower versus, you know, a small superpower. But with the backing of the United Nations, they've been able to sustain their borders. And they have a fairly decent military. But I mean, I hope it's known after Syria is that if the world powers had decided another direction, it could have easily been that Israel had been left as rubble. And that's the thing, is what's keeping the tide at bay is the all of the resolutions that the governments have made over the years to protect Israel. Yeah, it's a resolution. We are not going to let this happen again, especially after what happened in the Second World War, because we were negligent on our side of the religion. Yeah, because if you're not a Jew, yeah, then there's no you've got no dog in the fight. Yeah, so why would you care, right? Unless you're just compelling to the empathy of a human being. And the milk of human kindness runs out. And you've got to remember, the only fucking reason why England even joined the war was because Hitler invaded Poland. They were more than happy to sit by the sidelines and watch everybody just be wiped the fuck out. But Hitler invaded Poland. And Hitler invaded Poland because he wanted England in the fight. He's like, you're not going to just sit by and... No. What's important to you? What's the most important thing to you right now? Poland, innit? I'm going to fucking invade Poland so hard, yeah? She's going to be screaming my name for the next fucking 1,000 years. And England's like, but Poland's ours! Oh, your pretty Polish girls aren't going to know any different after a few years of occupation. Come and do something about it instead of sitting on your fucking asses, choosing whether or not... And Hitler was a fucking monster, right? But it spurred them into action. Believe me, I sit in the United Kingdom knowing that they could have just as easily have taken Hitler's side. In fact, I know they would have. I know it, because my family, fuck me, my family. I've never met a bunch of Aryan cunts like my family. And I'm half Indian, I'm Punjabi, half Indian. I'm a Jewish sympathiser, right? I'm a this, that and the other. I am literally everything that they have stacked their house against, right? And at the end of it, right, it was, they thought I was Muslim. They thought I was a Muslim. And so because they're racist, because I said I was half Indian, and so for the whole of their life they called me a Paki and a mouse, and that's my fucking family in the United Kingdom. Yeah, fuck you cunts for a start, right? And I'm not Muslim, I'm Punjabi. My father was Punjabi, right? And that's an important distinction to make, because when it comes down to who I'm fighting against, I'm fighting with my friends who are Jewish. Yeah, I'm on their side, and I'm on the fucking side of my father, who's Punjabi, who have ever been enemies of Islam. And I'm not saying I'm going to pick up arms against them. No, I'm going to do what my father's father did, and what my friends and my other family who are Jewish did. I'm going to offer the olive branch of peace. I'm going to say we can do what our fathers and forefathers did before us as well, and choose the route to peace rather than to spill more blood. Okay, so even if I don't necessarily agree with the aspirations of your religion, even if there is a bloody history of your religion and how it's hated my people from time immemorial just for being more successful than them, right? Not my problem anymore. So I kind of get to the point where I was having a conversation with someone, and they said, well, what about all of the achievements in Islam? I said, there's nothing, we're not talking about the past accomplishments of Islam. We can talk about the past accomplishments of Islam if you would like the invention of astrology, mathematics, the creation of one of the most beautiful written languages in the world, of art, of music. We can talk of these things if you'd like, but we are looking at the now. And now in Islam, it is not so prosperous. And when I say that this is a war for the soul of Islam, I genuinely mean that, because we're fighting for not the body, not the material possessions, right? We're talking about the soul, because without the soul there isn't any art, there isn't any music, there isn't any love, there isn't any astrology, there's no maths, there's nothing at all. It's just dirt. It is just dirt. And that is a fate that I don't want anybody to befall. See, because the thing about it is at its core, Islam still followed the tenets of the other religions. It based its core tenets on Judaism specifically, that as long as you create your own house and keep your own house in order, right? And as long as you do that, and as long as you kind of follow the tenets of that, you don't, you praise God and do, your sacrifices and self-sacrifices and those kinds of things. You can run your own religion as you like. The moment that they decided that they were going to turn their blade on someone else, like they took the blade from themselves and turned it on someone else, that's the fatal mistake. Because the thing is, you can be a self-hating Jew if you want. I don't think anybody should hate themselves for being who they are, right? And that's why I say to those people who are playing advocate, don't. You don't need to. You don't need to justify anything, right? Because at the end of the day, essentially, if you are religious and you do believe that you are going to be judged by God, you should let that be a thing. Right? You should not take the judgment of God into your own hands, because that's taking away God's judgment from you. So don't do that. Don't play the advocate. Don't need to. So if you believe that that's the reality of what we're of religion, you should follow those tenets. And putting the sword to someone else's throat and going, follow me or I will kill you, that is not the way. You do not know the way. So I'm just wanted to make this video because I was seeing the Orthodox Jews getting railroaded by these military forces, and their liberties were being stripped from them. And there's a couple of really horrific, like heart-wrenching moments where a couple of Jews were on the floor and their legs were being pulled, and I thought, oh my God, it's happening again. It's happening again. I can't watch. And the thing is, it's like, oh, but you're okay with Muslims dying. No, I'm not okay with anybody dying. I'm not okay with anybody enacting violence on anybody else. Okay, unless, right, you're in a consensual relationship with someone and you've agreed that that's what you're into. I don't believe that a police force or an army has the right to go to anybody else's property or boundaries within the body of themselves. I believe, in fact, I know that we are all sovereign and no one has the right to force themselves onto anybody. And when anybody does that, they're breaking like a very core like reality of existence as a human being. Yeah? And when you strip a human being of that, you dehumanize them. And when you've dehumanized someone, you can commit any atrocious acts to them. And today I saw again, and I was watching about cerebral palsy kids, because that's my thing, to be honest. I don't know why. I just started to get really. I do this thing where I skip from subject to subjects, and cerebral palsy is this newest. Was it infatuation? What is it when you get absorbed into something? I'm focused on cerebral palsy, and I know I've met a lot of people with cerebral palsy and other muscular degenerative diseases like that. And there's three or four kids in Syria who had all the same degenerative disease, and their parents had lost their house, and they had nowhere to live. And those kids need 24-hour medical attention. And I just thought, fuck. That's the kind of situation where I'm like, okay, right, you know what? Put the fucking war aside for a second. These kids need to be in a hospital. Yeah, you need to stop fucking. If you want to go, if you're an able-bodied man and woman, you really want to go and fucking take on. You really want to go and play God. You go fucking play God. Yeah, you go and play God somewhere else, right? And you take these children. You leave these fucking children alone, right? And you put them safe somewhere. They're ill. They're not fighters. They're children. Yeah, and you're fucking killing them. And the guy was talking about, you know, his kids, you know, their last meal was boiled cabbage, and they didn't even get to eat it because they were bombed. They died hungry. And I just thought, that's the part of war I hate. If I hate anything in this world, it's that. I swear to fucking... I swear. You want to go and be a big man, yeah? You step in the ring, you go and fight like a big man, right? Leave those fucking kids alone, yeah? Stop. Just fucking stop. I'm sick of fucking turning on the TV and seeing big men, big, strong fucking men kicking little children around the fucking streets like they're fucking warriors. And let me tell you something, I've got no fucking honour for you anymore. None. It's besmirched. You. Fuck you. Because it's bad enough that you guys are killing each other anyway. It's bad enough that you guys are like, oh, I'm killing your religion, I'm killing your religion. Yeah, well, go fucking do it somewhere else. Yeah? These are things that people have built up over years to protect each other from this kind of fucking nonsense. And you're all acting like children. Genuine fucking spoiled brats. That's what it is. Spoiled fucking brat cunts. And meanwhile, there's people out there who are suffering, really genuinely suffering. And I'm not fucking saying, oh well, that's survival of the fittest. Yeah. You're not going to get a fucking argument with me if you can't run the marathon. Fuck off, yeah? If you're a weak link, fuck off. Our strength as a species, right, is about how well we protect our weak, not how well we protect our strong. And that is why Sparta fell. That is the core reason of why Sparta fell. Because you never looked after any of your weak. You only wanted the best. And so everybody else got chaff. And when it came down to it, you didn't have a leg to stand on at the end of the day, and you died. And you were obliterated. That's what happens. When you don't look after the heart of your religion, you die. Because there's nothing you're nothing worth fighting for otherwise. If you're not fighting for the soul, if you're not fighting for your art, for your music, for your actual beauty in nature, if you're not fighting to protect and to serve, you are on the wrong side of everything. Yeah? Of every single fucking thing. So, no, we can't all go out to Great Ormond Street Hospital and make people's dreams come true, right? But, right, we can, for the future, say things like, do you know what? How about we don't do this anymore? You take your shitty religion and fuck off away from me. And you take your shitty religion and you fuck off away from me. And you just leave each other alone now. Yeah? I'm the ref here and I'm calling it. It's over. Piss the fuck off back to your own corners, right? It's over. I don't care who's won. You can argue about who's won. I'm gonna hold up the one that I think has won, yeah? And I think by now, hopefully, people would understand which side I'm on in this fucking... If this was a boxing match, I'm betting on Mayweather. Do you understand me? Yeah, I'm the one that's going, yeah, Mayweather's gonna win. It's an easy fucking decision to make, innit? I'm gonna put a bet on Conor because I want him to win, right? But I'm still gonna raise Mayweather's hand at the end of the night, yeah? Because he won. So, and the thing is about the Mayweather victory is he didn't beat Conor out of like pure fighting. He outboxed him. That's what boxing is about. That's why everybody knew McGregor was going to get beaten, because McGregor's a top fighter. He's perhaps, arguably, you know, in his weight class, the #1 fighter that's ever lived, right? Really, genuine Conor McGregor is one of these, like, geniuses, right? He didn't win a boxing match because he can't box. And everybody knows it. And it wounded his pride. Oh, go back to your corner, Conor. Right? You lost the fight. Humbling, isn't it? And you didn't really lose, did you? You got played. Because that's what boxing is about. It's not about necessarily always being able to punch the strongest, yeah? Or being able to obliterate your opponent in one move. Sometimes it's just about being smart in the game and coming out on top, even though really all he did was just kind of keep you at bay. Anyway, I'll talk about boxing another day. I'm saying, you need to fuck off. This is how I feel about it right now. You both need to fucking stop, right? I'm fed up of you know, it's bad enough that on the streets of London we have homeless people because of how disgusting our society is run and how fucking nasty they treat their people and their discards, right? Because they don't have any respect for human life. Because they're still running on a kind of ye olde pagan kind of world of living, and that's fine. That's what they want to do. I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of, like, you go, oh, we care about the children, but you don't care about the children because you're bombing them. You're killing them. Yeah? You're killing men who are teachers, women who are educators, and for what? Like, even if, like, and here's the thing, is the fallback position is, have you really sunk so low as a nation, right, where you can't strap up your own boots and take a fight to a couple of kids in pyjamas? Really? Because I'm one of these people who you don't like, because I'm a contrarian, yeah? I might be a centrist, but I'm a fucking hypocrite as well, because I want peace, I want harmony, I want prosperous, I want fucking people to be safe, I want people to be happy, and I want people to be able to pursue their dreams and goals without fear of violence, rape and torture. I want that. And yet, when it comes to war, yeah, I want fucking war. I want a genuine, pick up your sword and your gun, right, and jump on your horse, yeah, meet me on a fucking field. Not noncing up in your fucking aeroplanes and fucking drones and sitting back in your fucking Xbox killing people like it's a fucking game. And that's the thing about the Second World War, is it's the last real war we really had where men fought men on the field of battle. And you know what? That changes your mind when you're not looking down the scope of a rifle or the screen of a fucking phone and going, bomb, bomb, bomb. Oh, no. You know, you've got the fucking knife to their throat like this. And you're like, I'm not sure if I really want to do this, you know, but I fucking really hate you right now because you're a cunt. And how many people on the battlefield went Nazi scum and just walked off and got shot in the back or something like that because they were fucking idiots, you know? And the whole hatred of just going, oh, well, we'll keep them at range and bay and we'll bomb them that far away. And as long as they can't come up to us, we can just sit here behind our... That's the most upsetting thing. I don't know how many people have been stuck behind the wall while their families have been raped and they've not been able to do anything. But I'll tell you what, it's those people like Hitler who started out wanting to be an artist and ending up being drafted into a war he didn't want to be in, as a male runner that he didn't want to be in, and seeing all of his friends die. And that will change a man. That will change a man from being a peaceful painter to being a serial killer? Genocidist? He was a fucking mental case. Like, you made him that way. Like, you went from being a nice, arty painter who couldn't really do fuck all, right? He was a mediocre painter at best. No real talent. But here's the thing about the pursuit of happiness, yeah? If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. And yeah, we'll rewrite the history books that Hitler was just a nonce, a frustrated artist who couldn't draw. Oh, and that's why he went to war, because he wasn't very talented. He wasn't intelligent like the rest of the world. No. We saw fucking his friends being slaughtered in front of him, being told by some fucking jerk-off they didn't go and die for me. And he looks around and kind of goes, "Nah, you die for me, actually, cunt." Anybody in this situation would have done this exactly the same thing. I'm not going to die for your wars. You die for mine now. I don't necessarily even like that people like Genghis Khan or, you know, Stalin or Pol Pot or fucking recently Coney and all of that fucking child trafficking shit gets buried in favour of Hitler being the absolute zenith of like God wins law. Now, if you bring up Hitler, God wins automatically, right? And yet, here's the problem. We've been creating monsters like him our whole history. It doesn't matter who the fuck it is. And then you'll get some historian buff go, "Have you ever heard of this obscure name?" And it's like, you know, Raphael Lacroix. And you're like, "Who's Raphael Lacroix?" It's like, "Oh, didn't you know? He killed 50 million people in a space of one day." And you're like, "I've never heard of him." And you're like, "No, because you only ever hear about Hitler. You only ever..." And that's a made up person, by the way. Raphael Lacroix does not exist. Okay, I really wish Raphael Lacroix existed. That would be so fucking cool. Who are you? I'm Raphael Lacroix. Oh fuck! I might change my name again to Raphael Lacroix. That would be so fucking funny. Fuck it. Okay, this is an hour-long video. I want to say thank you to myself for making me laugh. Thank you to anybody who's watching. Fuck all of you bigots, cunts, and anyone who's still creating this fucking fog of war. You're all nasty, right? Consider genuinely ending your own lives, right? Or you could take a Buddhist philosophy, which I think is a better philosophy. Kill yourself. Kill yourself. Yeah? Madhu. Gandhi, fucking kill the self. Anyway, bye bye, you fucking bunch of heathens.